What's going on, guys? Back with another weekend watch list. I posted on my IG story if any of you have recommendations for stocks you want me to take a look at and do analysis on. So let's get started. Someone recommended the ticker X. X is United States Steel Corporation. That's what I pulled up here. Remember, when looking at stocks for swing trading, you want to look at the longer time frame. My favorite time frames are the 4 hour, the 1 hour, 4 hour, and the daily time frame. That's what I look at the most. All right, so first thing you want to do is zoom out, like I always say. Let's see if you can see the bigger picture. See if you can see any trends, channels forming, anything like that. So right now, what I see from looking at X, if I take a look, pull up my trendline tool. All right, so I can draw something like this, going across. Okay, so we got that channel, or we got that top trend line forming. Now, let me see about the bottom trend line. So let's take a look at the bottom trend line. If we go all the way across here, and if we extend it, going all the way across, let's see what we got. All right, so remember what I teach you guys about extending the trend line to look at the bigger picture to see if it's accurate. So here on the bottom, at around on October 23rd, November 9th, November 18th, until it finally broke, this trend line here was intact. And going all the way back here, we can see why the stock bounced off of this level. Because we already had an existing trend line go all the way across and it stayed intact. So right now, when you zoom out after you draw your two trend lines, like I have here, what I can see that this is clearly in a channel, right? Every time it's the bottom of this range, comes back up, hits the top, comes back down, hits the top, comes back down. Now right here, if we zoom in, let's see. So it hit the bottom of the trend line and the 9 SMA, and it had a little bounce. So what I would do is I would wait for a confirmation that this trend line is still intact, because as you guys can see here, it hit the trend line, broke, came back up, broke, pulled up. So what I would do is, now that I know about my top trend line, and I know that it's clearly in a channel, and we can see the wave and the trend that is forming, I want it to go up from here, right? So what I would do is, here I have my 20 SMA, my 50 SMA, and my pivot level all here at 25. So what I would do is I would take calls above, let's see, I would take calls above 25.30. Okay, so that's what you would do to set your alert. So for X, calls above 25.30, because you don't want to try catching a trend line bounce. You don't want to catch calls right here if this trend line could potentially break, or it pull up here and hit key resistance levels and come back down anyways. So we want to make sure we get over our key moving averages and our pivot levels for a stronger entry. So that's what I would do. I would take calls above 25.30. So let's go ahead and set our alert. We'll call it X calls. All right. Now we got alert set. Now another reason why I would also take this trade over 25.30 is because look at our MACD. Right? If you take a look at our MACD crossover, the green line, the MACD line is about to cross over. And that means, even though the MACD is a lagging indicator, clearly we can see that we're ready to go up now. It's curving on the upside, so we're ready to fire back up. The RSI is not oversold, and it's not overbought either. It's right kind of like in the middle, near the zero line. So we can tell that we're in a good position for a swing trade for this trade. So again, X calls above 25.30. Let's move on to the next one. So the next one we got is BA. Okay, so for BA, I have a lot of stuff drawn here on BA. This purple box right here is my zone, supply and demand zone. And right now this would be considered a demand zone since we're coming from the top bottom. So we got our trend line. We can see that BA's trend line has stayed intact for a while. And even yesterday, or on Friday, on July 2nd, on Friday market, BA came back down, almost at the trend line and bounced. So what I would look for, see, once you have a pattern, just like the last one, we got our top trend line, we got our bottom, we can see like a pennant forming here a little bit. So we know we have a gap to fill. And this BA is going to do one of two things. It's either going to break this trend line and come back and try to retest in the zone. And since it's in a strong zone, we could see it bounce up from here. Or it could come back here, hit the top of this, and explode up. So what I'm going to do is two things. I'm going to look for two entries. Since I got my pivot level right here and I got my zone, I got my demand zone right here, what I'm going to look for is calls at a balance of 230.70. So let me set my alert. Alright, so I'm going to take BA calls at the balance of 270 or 230.70 if it comes back down. And if I'm looking at it for call side, I'm not going to take it just because I have a bullish engulfing candle, because we have the 20 SMA line right here. And if I get over the 9 SMA, let's say you take calls above 242.50, okay, right over the 9, this white line is my 9 SMA. If you take calls right there, then you're going to see rejection immediately at 244. If you pick a high delta contract, yeah, sure, you can make a decent amount of money or decent profit from just that $2 move on BA. But we're trying to swing trade. We're looking at a longer term picture. So what I would do is I would take calls above right here at 245 because it's going to be over my 20 SMA, over my pivot level. And I know that if I take calls above 245, price action clearly wants to go back up and hit the top of this trend line. And from 245, I can ride it all the way to 249.5 or 249.60 in a sense. So that would be my BA entry. And plus, if it hits a trend line and breaks up that and then goes over the 250s, all the way to 253 and so on, that's even better for me. So a better entry would be 255 for calls, or at the bounce here at 230.70. Let's move on to the next one. So the next one is Snow. Now Snow is a stock that came out about last year. All right, let's take a look. Zoom out. Yeah, so it came out on September 16th of 2020. So as you can see, I don't have my 200-day moving average, my green line, because we don't have that much data yet. And go back here. So if I zoom out and take a bigger look at, if I take a look at the bigger picture on Snowflake, what we can tell is right here on May 13th, ever since it hit this bottom range, it went from 180, let's see, 185 all the way to 257. Okay, that's a big move. And clearly it hasn't gassed out all the way yet. What we might gas out is reaching a top of a range so high that it starts to fall off big time. Because right now here, we can tell that it hit 256, but it only pulled back to 232, came back to around 253 range, pulled right back down to 237. So we can see that it's making higher lows since it moved up from here. And I really can't draw a trend line because I don't have that much data on it yet. One line I could draw is if I take this line right here, go all the way across. Alright, we can see that this trend line is intact. Because look, boom, it hit here, respected this range, hit here, now pulled all the way back up. So what I can do is I can now extend it. So I got my level for the top, meaning that, okay, let's say Snow comes back all the way up, and I'm wondering where it's going to gas out again, then I would say right wherever the trend line is. So we know that it's got potential to hit around the 260 ranges if it decided to run up a lot next week. But right now, based on my support level, I got this dark blue line is my 50-day moving average, and I got my pivot level here as well. So I would say Snow calls that bounce of 234, 233.5, 234, see if that level stays respected. However, if it breaks my 50-day moving average, okay, and if let's say it breaks 232, then I would look to short it. I would look to short it because we got plenty of room for it to fill right around here at least because of the big run up that it's had. So again, calls at 234, 233.5. Stay, as long as it stays respected, you can stay in it. If it breaks 232, look to short it. Okay, next ticker on the list, what do we got? We got Crowder. Let's take a look at Crowder. Okay, so this is one I told you guys about last week as well, and as you guys can see, I was right about it because it blew up, right? So on Crowder, right now we got strong resistance here. I got my fib lines drawn up, and we can see here this clear consolidation. Okay, when you got stocks moving like this and sideways channel, and you know it's trying to like squeeze up or down in any direction, you can tell how you're going to play it. You just got to play it once it breaks a new high. So based on this right now, the high of Crowder was 260.82. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for calls because we got our pivot level right here as well, our historical pivot level. So as long as Crowder stays above my trend line intact right here, I'm going to know that we're good for a squeeze on up. So I would say calls above 261.10. Let me just do this. All right. Boom. All right, so that's where I would take Crowder again. I would take calls past this consolidation phase, squeezing on up, and we got plenty of room for it to come back up. The RSI is on the verge of being overbought, right? We can see here it's almost reaching the top of the line. MACD crossover starting to form on the bottom. However, if the bullish run still continues, we definitely have enough room to squeeze on up and hit the top of this Bollinger Band right here or the pivot level. So that's my entry. Calls above 261.10. All right, let's move on to the next one. So we got CRM. Now CRM had a beautiful clean breakout off this triangle pattern right here. And now what I'm looking for is to make a new high because the top of the trend line right here on February 16th, the high was 251.23. Okay, now we know that once a triangle breaks its trend line, or yeah, usually a break up like a bullish pennant, ascending triangle, stuff like that. When they clearly have a nice break, which we see here, what I like to see is it to make a new high from the top of where that usual range is. And on the daily time frame, from what we can tell right now, this is clearly a strong resistance. Because if I take my horizontal line and draw it right here, take a look right here. All right. So let's look at our historical data. So if we take a look at our horizontal line, we can see, boom, right here, respected it, respected it, respected it here, almost, we had a pin bar right here, almost respected it. These candlesticks, boom, right here, here, here. Okay, and of course, right here. So we know, based on historical data, that this support line or this resistance line is very strong. So what I want to do is, if we zoom back in right here, we can see that our pivot level is right at 251.75 as well. So what I would do is I wanted to obviously make a new high, break this key resistance level, which the horizontal line that we drew, and go over my pivot level. So I would say CRM calls above 252.10. Okay, so that's where I'm going to have my alert set. 252.10. Okay. We'll see if we can make it up to that. If we can, great. Otherwise, we wait for the retest, and we'll see if volume picks up. Because right now, MACD crossover's kind of curving back up, so we can see that we saw enough momentum to come back up. RSI is not overbought just yet. It's on the verge of being overbought, but we still got room. So that tells us we got momentum left. And we can see the sideways choppy consolidation, just like what we just saw on Crowder with that sideways channel. And look what happened. Once that channel top broke, it squeezed up, right? So let's see if we can push through that resistance. So Crowder calls above, or CRM calls above 252.10. Now, last one, let's take a look at NEO. That was the most requested ticker for me to analyze. So we'll take a look at NEO. Okay, so NEO bounced off the 9 SMA. Let's see. Okay, so we have a nice trend line right here. Let's draw it. Going all the way across. So we got our trend line on the top. And on the bottom, I don't see a clear one that we could draw that would be nice. Even if I zoom out, not much data. So what I would look for is for it to break this trend line, get back up over this pivot level, but I don't want to get rejected by my Fibonacci level right here at 256. So yes, we could easily say if we have a bullish engulfing wick, we can take calls immediately right here, but that wouldn't be a good idea. because my historical data tells me that that 56 level, that the price range of 56 is respected a lot. And to confirm it, all we got to do is do what? Draw our horizontal line just like we did before. If I just drop it right here, let's zoom in on the previous historic data. All right, boom. Touch 1, touch 2, 3, 4. We can see it being respected throughout these wicks. Again, 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 and again. All right, so right away that tells us 56 is a key price range for NEO. So what I want to do is I would take calls above 56. It's just like the last time. If we can break through a trend line and we can break through a key solid resistance level, we got room to go up. And if we break 56, we got room to go to 57.5 and then the 60s and so on and make even possibly all-time highs. So that's what I would do. I'm going to set my alert right now. I would take calls above 56.10. And that's my alert for NEO. Okay. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this watch list. I just wanted to give you guys some stocks to take a look at for next week. Again, this is not financial advice. This is just my own personal analysis and the plays that I would take as well. Key positions like, because the market is extended, I would not enter heavy positions on calls right about now because I do see a correction coming in the foreseeable future, and I would say it's pretty soon. I wouldn't say it's too far out, but I would say you should expect a market pullback soon. Because let me show you something right here. If we take a look at SPY in the daily time frame. Just delete this. Okay. Let's take a look at SPY. If we draw a trend line on SPY, all right, take a look at this. Okay, that's the most accurate that I can make it, but you get the picture. We don't have much room left until eventually the gap is going to get tighter and tighter, and when this type of long range channel forms, it's going to come back down. And as you guys know, SPY and upper 450s is probably where, in my opinion, where I see it gassing out. But this is something you got to look at. You don't just look at stocks and take a look at their highs and lows and their resistance levels and whatnot. You also have to look at the ETFs that they're a part of and the whole market as overall and how what market direction is doing. So you got to look at SPY. You got to look at QQQ. You got to see what they're doing. And once you can draw channels like them, like this, what I just drew here in front of you on SPY, you can tell. Okay, so if I know that when if SPY gets near 440s, I know to not swing at that point. I'm not going to start swinging at once SPY hits 440. I'd rather short it, let it come back down, retest around 430s, 420s, 425, 428, and then come back up. But eventually, once this trend line gets broken, that is when we're going to see a market pullback, and a correction will come. So just keep in mind for that. And I hope this video helped you guys, and we'll see you guys next week. I try to do this every weekend because I know a lot of you guys like it. So stay tuned till next weekend, and I hope you guys have a great trading week. Take care.